Good evening, it's 2200 UTC on the Sunday, 27th of October, 3305. I'm your host, Jeff Ryan, and welcome to the Prismatic Congress. The Prismatic Congress is a broadcast by the Prismatic Imperium based in Cubio, an active player group that makes up part of the Ashling Deval community and specializing in role-playing. First, the general news. Scourge, which launched on the 10th of October, has now entered a new phase with the anti-blight treatment discovered. The galactic community has been asked to support an initiative that could counteract the blight that is devastating crops and hundreds of systems. The priority is to transport the treatment to the Daiso and Norervi systems, which were among the first to be ravaged by the blight. And if these primary agricultural centers can be made viable again, we can proceed to revitalize crop production elsewhere. Also in the news, the big news this week, of course, was that fleet carriers have been cancelled from the December update. There will still be an update in December, but it will no longer have fleet carriers, which have been moved to the much later in 2020. This has been a refocus by Frontier, who say they've listened to criticism of the September update, and they are now going to institute a beta program, and there will be continuous quality of life type updates throughout 2020 to focus on the bugs and game-breaking issues that are still in the game after all these years. This has been welcomed by most of the community, although there's obvious disappointment at fleet carriers having been cancelled, because this is also the second time that fleet carriers have been cancelled. They were knocked out from last year's update as well. So will we ever see them, or is this the Frontier Development's equivalent of Brexit? We don't yet know. And now on to branch news. First, Vigor with Chief Muffler.
Thank you. So I'll start directly with what I have been teasing last week, which is our next event for the branch of Vigor. During the week, you may have already seen it. I've posted the announcement for it, and I'm hoping for votes on the date now, but let me go through what it actually is. So I've dubbed it Classic Cubians Combat Carnage Competition because I like alliterations and I'm crazy. And it will be an event using ship-launched fighters. Ship-launched fighters are really nice because you can shoot them down without having to worry about rebuy or damage stops and anything like that. And you can use them for a nice PvP event. The idea of the whole event is that we can have fun together and learn to fight other players in their fighters. Maneuverability, shooting them, strategies. We will, during the event, go through a number of different game modes to keep it exciting and to try out different approaches. We will try normal deathmatch. We will try teams. And I also intend to have a tournament in it. And yeah, I hope you are interested in it. You can bring any fighter that you want to fly. The advantage is you can, if you don't have any fighters, you can get a keel back with a fighter hanger for just about 3.6 million credits. We will be fighting in a ring around Teen 3, which is another advantage. There is a station nearby where you can buy that keelback and a fighter hanger. You may only have to jump to a nearby system to get the Imperial fighter if you want to use that, or whatever other fighter you may want to use. We will be flying in our private group, so there is no outside interference. Yeah, currently for the date, there are 3 options that you can vote for. The time is biased towards Europeans and always the same. We can vary maybe a little bit there, but I'm pretty fixed to the time. But there are 3 dates that you can vote for. We have a Tuesday, we have a Friday, and we have a Saturday. It is November 12, 15, and 16. So yeah, if you are interested in the event, shoot me a note so I know you want to participate and vote for the dates you are available. You can vote for every date you are available, and we will use the date with the most votes. I hope I have mentioned everything necessary. Otherwise, hit me up with questions and I will answer them. Other than that, there's one more highlight I'd like to mention, and that is our dear Nightmare Feed has completed a month-long project, which is the retreat out of Zileo. This has been going on for a whole while and was this little side project. He's put a ton of effort in that, and finally we have completed the retreat, and Prismatic Imperium is out of Zaleo. So yeah, I'm really happy to talk about this. And now over to our organizer of expeditions, Lord Headmaster Tekoran, in the branch of Sight.
Well, thank you. I'll have to thank you especially because you took part in our most recent expedition that just finished yesterday. The third annual side expedition was a huge success. We had around 8 participants, visited 8 waypoints for over 1 week, so 1 waypoint per day, and we've also visited over 10 nebula. Alongside that trip were a lot of funny moments, like climbing huge space melons, trying to get sucked into a black hole, and also finding interesting star formations and planets that shouldn't really exist. However, no Rexler were found. I'm looking forward to the next expedition, and I'm going to distribute the rewards for the participants shortly. It has been a pleasure to fly with you, and I can't wait to see my office again. Other than that, that has been everything. Flying along with other people in my huge Anaconda was fun as hell, because it didn't cost me any paperwork. But now that I've returned into my office, there are going to be some other projects on the horizon. So Mind isn't here today. That means, Jeff, it's your time again.
Thank you. Yeah, no, Kevin, the Lord Herald contacted me earlier and said he couldn't make it tonight. That's always a shame. It's always good if we have all 3 branches telling what's going on. But we'll scrape by. Missler, what's the name again of your event?
Classy Cubians Combat Carnage Competition.
Excuse me?
Classy Cubian Carnage competition. I tried to write it down. I got Cubian Carnage, and then my brain. I do love alliteration, and it sounds like a classic Cubian Carnage.
PvP event works fine.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a great title. I love it. Yeah, no, that's a really good idea, especially with the fighters. If you have a couple of hangers on you, then you can take part.
If this event works out well, we will probably think about further PvP learning events, and also with more regular ships and not just fighters. But first, I'm eager to see how this one works out.
Yep. And so there's 3 dates, and the more people that take part, the better. I mean, again, with all these things, it's always it's a bit like this show. It's always best to just start. I mean, even if only a few people turn up to the first one, and then word of mouth passes, and people start to maybe turn up at the second one, and even more. So it's always good to actually start these things and get the ball rolling. So I wish you all success. But yeah, I really like the idea of it being in game and being with fighters. So it's a bit like an in-game CQC, which we played a little bit this week, which was a lot of fun. What was that guy's name? Musketeer, Commander Musketeer. We shall get
Indeed.
you one day.
I played the day after, and I met him again, but
Did
that's
you?
another topic.
Yeah, I think he's the only person that plays it regularly. I mean, he was like elite in CQC, and we were not, and it was obvious that we were not. Obviously, he was cheating. Actually, I really want to say congrats to Knight Barefeet on the retreat from Zeloa. That's we all know that's still not an easy thing to do. So retreating from systems that we don't want to be in is a good thing. So again, congratulations, Knight Barefeet, on that marvelous achievement. As for the expedition, it was a huge success, and I know I didn't take part in it, but I was there in spirit.
Yeah.
I spent a decent amount of time hanging out with Missler and Bear, who were around the time I managed to log in.
At least your Holomeet joined us.
Yeah, I did. I that was actually a problem, because when I holomeed in to join the event, then poor Missler, whose ship I joined, he couldn't join into Wing, so they had to use the galaxy map. Eventually, I left that I
You
felt
only cause problems.
I only cause problems indeed.
Hmm.
But I felt I should at least show up, so I did. And even then, even the other nights I didn't hollow me in.
Don't
But
worry.
And you were
But I-
present as our science guy, which was also
yeah,
important.
yeah, I was present as the science guy, except for last night.
I'm
But,
going to deliver you a huge stack of paper with all the discoveries.
You're still using paper.
Well,
Yeah,
I can go back to that old days if you want. And throw it into your cockpit virtually.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I know that it was a huge success. I listened to it. I watched the streams, and I hung out with Mr. and Bear late in the evening. They were exploring, and did they find the surprise that you guys had set up,
What surprise?
Missler? The thing that you and Bear were exploring a few days ago.
We found surprises.
Did
What
you
are you getting to?
when you've explored that system with all those stars, the special stars, the black holes?
Yes,
Okay.
we found a lot of black holes.
Yeah.
Indeed.
The last waypoint of the whole expedition was really amazing to see.
Yeah, black holes are always nice. Because Bear and Missler had actually found them a few days before, and they're like, oh, everybody's going to be so excited when we get here. So, I'm glad everybody had.
I'd have to say, unintentionally, the last waypoint was the most exciting one.
Why was it unintentionally the most exciting one?
Well, because from far away you could already see that huge alley of O-type stars.
You have to act as if it was planned.
Everybody was thinking first it was a galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's what we were looking at a few days before. It was actually because they'd seen this landmark, Missler and Barefeet, like Barefeet. And they'd seen this landmark and they wanted to find out where it was. And I actually saw them science it. They were sciencing it. They were, trying to track it down and using line of sight and checking the map. And that's how they found
The only thing you saw about me was landing on the asteroid station.
it. But they did it, and they found it and they explored the nebula. So they knew what you guys were heading into. They didn't want to tell you. They thought they're going to love this. But it was actually fun watching them work it out and through the map and stuff. So
Yeah, from all waypoints, I liked the last one the most. It had the most surprises and the
it's
most
actually
interesting systems.
it took away from my flight time because I don't actually have a lot of time to fly just now. But instead of like concentrating on heading home, which is now not going to be, I'm sorry, Lord Headmaster. I will probably not be home in time for Christmas.
You know what? I'm just going to search for a new vice headmaster because the old one's never going to come back. Your office,
Knew when you gave me the job, you knew where I was.
your office is full of spiders, web, and what else?
You can work remotely. It's called home office.
Yeah. But if you find a good vice headman, I wouldn't be offended if you found somebody who
I've
could do the
turned
job.
off the power in your office because it's just a waste of energy.
It is a waste of energy. I'm glad. Well, to be fair, we do live in a kind of post-scarcity society. Energy is not really a big problem.
Yeah, but still,
We shouldn't waste it.
not
people-
in your office.
Have you got the generators hooked up to transfer the power from Cubio 6 yet, or are we still working on that? Sorry. Right. Anyway, let's move into prismatic discussion. It's the bad thing about this show being on Sundays is it seems to be like the worst day for news. Or it's either like news is either so breaking that we don't realize it's important yet, or the really important news hits like a day or two after. Like this week we had the whole fleet carriers being cancelled thing. Obviously I'm personally I'm a little bit disappointed, not because of being cancelled, but because this is the second time that they've been knocked out. So I am a bit disappointed. Anybody else was? Oh, and if you're listening, you're welcome to join the discussion now. So that's everybody else who's listening, you're welcome to join. What are your opinions?
Well, for my opinion is I'm quite upset about the fleet carrier, but then on the other side, yeah, there's quite a lot of bugs to be had. But the thing I'm worried about is this seems to come around with this petition that people. My worry is that the next thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a petition to make the game open only by some load of dumbasses who think they can push the game.
Well, I hate to tell you that petition's already been circulating for a long time.
Yeah. That's a long. I mean, we're lucky. I think if it was anybody else, but it's one of the things David Braben himself. I think a lot of members of the team could be persuaded. But David Braben himself is against that kind of advantage or open only. He's always, I suspect he's played MMOs or he's aware of things like EVE, and he doesn't want Elite Dangerous to go that way.
Evolve into that.
Yeah, I mean that's why we have. I mean, they worked really hard to work out 3 modes. I mean that didn't just naturally evolve. It was a deliberate decision and development and choice. I mean, some people, I know, like Sandy, the guy from Powerplay, was never entirely happy with it. But the system, the way it is now, he could have been persuaded to go open only. But the higher echelons, David is very against it. He's always said that all 3 modes should be equal, and he's hesitant to do anything that takes away from that. So, for those of us, and I include myself, who don't want the game to be open only or don't want open to have some advantage or whatever, then we're protected from on high. I mean, there is a way in if like enough members of the team can be convinced and then they can convince David, then maybe there'd be a risk. Yeah, petitions. Sorry, Ben.
I was going to kind of add on to that. That is kind of worrying. Is that if they are going to listen to this petition, there might be other ones as well that might delay fleet carriers even more, or do things like open only, which would kind of ruin the game for a lot of people. I know.
Sorry, Bear.
I kind of take a different tact on this. I mean, we hadn't seen anything about fleet carriers since FleetCon, or since GamesCon. Sorry, since GamesCon. I kind of think carriers weren't ready, and this petition was just a convenient excuse to put it back. Like, if you think about it, assuming that they were going to get fleet carriers out to us, it was going to be in December. Let's assume it was before the Steam sale when they try and get a lot of their updates out. We're only like 5 to 6 weeks away from when it should have been launching, and we haven't seen anything about it. Yeah. So I get the concern that, you're letting the mob drive development, but everybody got exactly what they want out of this petition, and fleet carriers, I think, was, again, just a convenient excuse to get it off the board because it probably still wasn't ready even after all this time. That's my hunch.
Yeah, I think it's that's probably a good thing. I mean, what concerns me a little bit is the focus, and this is something you and we discussed a little bit during the week. What I'm a little bit worried about is this focus on bugs. And whilst it is obviously something that's necessary, what concerns me personally is that for me, it strikes me as the wrong time to do something like this, which is like we've got 2 branches right now. We've got the main branch that we're on, and we've got the development branch, which is for the 2020 update. And fixing the main branch now at this point strikes me as something a little bit strange when we've got this huge update coming in 2020 that's obviously going to break things as well. And any changes they make to the main branch, they then have to incorporate into the 2020 branch without that being tested and having that break further. We don't know. It strikes me as the wrong time. I'd rather it came in after 2020.
It's an extremely valid concern, and I think one of the good things that's going to come out of this petition, where they're talking about test servers coming in for whenever the December update actually hits, whatever that December update is, I think we'll get at least a better sense of if they fix some of their problems with merging those branches. And we'll have a couple instances, I would imagine, over the next year or whenever fleet carriers and the 2020 expansion actually hits.
Yeah, it just strikes me as a really odd time. I mean, something like this would make absolute sense after the 2020 update had come in and was being beta tested, or after it released, as sometimes happens, is you really need it out in the wild before you can find all the main problems. Fixing the main branch now just strikes me as an odd time to do it.
Unless the 2020 patch is what's the word? The content that's going to hook into the main game is disconnected, if you understand what I mean. So they can fix this branch, and the 2020 update is going to be going to attach next to it.
Yeah, but I mean things like when they brought in the ARCs update. I mean, that was disconnected to everything, but is also connected to everything, which is why everything broke. So whatever they're bringing in 2020, it might be superficially disconnected, but it's probably somewhere in the underlying system. I mean, even power play is connected to everything, and it's disconnected but connected because it feeds off of the VGA states, it feeds off of the markets, it feeds off of people's actions. I'd be surprised if it was so disconnected.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely disconnected, it would have to be a separate game mode, and I don't think they would do that for this update.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I've been thinking about. What if this new 2020 update is a completely different game, where you play a soldier that gets eaten by a Thargoid?
Yeah.
No, I don't think it'd be anything
And
so
have
drastic.
Thargoids burst out of your stomach, alien style.
I mean, if it's where you play as a guy who had a Thargoid burst out of his stomach, I think that would just be the end of the game right there.
2020 update. Okay, 2 minutes just of horrifying VR burst out of your stomach. Game over. Done.
That would be an interesting.
Finished.
That'd be an interesting 2020 update. Introduce permadeath.
There was actually that was one of the modes that was supposed to be in the game from the get-go was Iron Man mode. There was supposed to be an Iron Man mode.
Yeah, but they can always just people have been doing that Iron Man mode manually themselves.
Yeah.
You could always just kill somebody and get them so mad that they quit the game.
That's called griefing, Ben. We don't do that.
And
what's that called?
Griefing. That's what griefing is. That's the definition of griefing.
Let's not get too deep into this because we have done this before. As Jeff and I were also talking about earlier this week. No, making people quit the game.
Why are you griefing people, man? You're making us all look bad.
Yeah. That was deserved, though.
Yeah.
Only Federers deserve to be griefed.
No, that's not strictly true.
I think the slavers deserve to be griefed.
Yeah, it was so clear that you're going to say that.
Yes, it was. You gave me the perfect opportunity.
Ben's definition of griefing is Ben's definition of slavery is basically everybody who isn't Ben. I think his parents counted as slavers until he was 18.
There's never been an opinion of you.
They were filthy slavers until he got his freedom when he turned 18. So I think Ben's definition of slavery is a bit broader.
I don't like
is
slavery.
Yeah.
They're not slavers. They're literally slavery.
Yeah. No, you know, if Ben decides to fill a glass with water, he actually enslaves the water because it's put into a glass.
Can't get that water back. That's right.
Free the water. Okay, back on topic. So, one thing that surprised me was the cancellation of fleet carriers, because they were originally penned in for December last year, so they're coming in a year later. And my personal concept of them is just so low. We'll discuss this a little bit during the week, not in last week's show, but afterwards. I can't understand what's so complicated about them that they've had to be cancelled again, considering what I'm expecting from them from a gameplay point of view, which is something like a mega ship, and not much in terms of gameplay other than the fact that it's a mega ship that I can tell where to go. And I don't see what's so hard about that they've had to cancel it twice now. I mean, this is supposed to be 18 months of development. I mean, it's been over 2 years since they were first announced. And for something that's it seems to me like a lot of work for something that's fundamentally not going to be that big.
I think it's more that they just don't know what they're doing with it. I mean, it initially started off as something that was going to be a squadron asset. It was something that the entire squadron would be able to have to get to. And I imagine they put a significant amount of development time into balancing it as a squadron asset. Then all of a sudden it was going to be individuals, which that's a whole different balancing method. We've talked a lot about the fuel and how is that going to work and how do you balance that with being rare enough that it is a challenge, but abundant enough that you don't like piss off the explorers, because that's something FDev is not going to be interested in doing either. So I think it really comes down to they don't exactly know what they're doing with it and how they're going to balance it for a individual asset gameplay wise, because it's going to be, I mean, we don't know anything about it. That's kind of the problem, but you're not going to be able to document a station. It's not going to be something you're probably going to be moving around all that often. So what are you actually going to do with it?
Yeah, what I was thinking is probably those support ships that come with the fleet carrier is probably going to be something like that. Like the exploration one is probably going to give you the ability to scan nearby systems for interest.
See, that's another thing. I mean, I have no conception of what the explorer ship is and how. Sorry, the support ship is and how it ties in. I mean, for a long time
as well.
I was still not even convinced that they were the same. I thought there were two different ways of referring to the same thing. I thought the support ship and the fleet carrier were the same thing. Apparently, that's not the case.
But let's go back to the Geonosis, which is a mega ship that is essentially built for exploring. It was built kind of on that squadron method where it jumps into a system, a bunch of people hop onto the ship, and then they go out and explore a sector. That's pretty balanced for that activity, but what if it's now just Jeff Ryan who's out in the edge of the universe by himself? How do you balance it so it's just working for him?
Did you just say Geonosis?
Yeah.
Are we in Star Wars?
Whatever.
The Gnosis. Yeah, it was the Gnosis.
Yeah, it's Gnosis.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, the point is I don't understand. Like I don't even know how the support ship and the fleet carrier. What's the interaction? What's my interaction with the support ship? What's my interaction with the fleet carrier? Why do I need a support ship in the first place? Why is the fleet carrier by itself not enough? I mean, there's so many things, and this is the point where I thought we'd start to be getting those questions answered. I thought they would start to answer those questions about fleet carriers now in the next couple of months.
Which
again,
goes to my point that I don't think it's ready.
Yeah,
I would have expected information on it by now, and there was nothing, which is also an indicator for that, I guess.
Yeah, they're.
I did made me think of something actually as well. There was a talk about that petition that happened.
Yes.
Back to the petition for a second. Just put up the fleet carriers again, because if they've responded to that some of these questions people leveled against it, they were very rehearsed on the questions, like they already knew this petition was going to come.
No, I don't think that's true, especially because Zach's initial response was
he got slammed.
Yeah, it was not professional at all. I mean, Zach kind of reacted from the gut. I completely understood his reaction. I mean, I didn't take anything in a bad way. Zach was defending the company and himself and his own position. So I didn't think it wasn't. And then even then, it was a long time before there was more reply to that. It took them a while to actually formulate a reply. That wasn't Zach's initial reply.
I guess that person was just talking out their arse then. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That's the problem is
it wasn't polished.
This situation. There's so many different people talking about so many different things, and you don't know who the hell to trust.
Well, that was
talking the truth.
That was my problem. Yeah, the problem with the petition that I had was that there were just so many issues in there. I don't like that kind of mob rule. I've seen it before in EVE Online back in 2011, which is what killed Incarna and EVE's version of Space Legs, is what we called it at the time. We called it Space Legs, and now it's Space Legs also here. But there was a while people were trying to call it Elite Feet here to differentiate it. But I saw that happen. Back in 2011, I saw the Incarna update, which introduced the first avatars that we'd had in the game, like in Captain's Quarters, which was the first part of the development for Space Legs, and it also introduced the shop, which was a cosmetic shop. There's nothing. It's a bit like our kind of shop. There's no pay to win in that shop anyway. I mean, there's pay to win through the other like Plex and things, but the shop was entirely about cosmetics. And there was an item in there, and I think it was some item like glasses. It wasn't glasses; it was a monocle, and the monocle cost, translated into real money, cost something like $50. And people were just so incensed about that, and that's where the real anger came from. The real anger came from the shop and the cost of the items in the shop, and people were furious about the Incarna update because of that. So because of that anger, I then watched the Mitani, who is the leader of Goon Squad. He kind of focused that anger, and he focused it against CCP, the developer of EVE Online, and he got everybody to protest. And this was a huge thing. I mean, thousands and thousands of players going to the main commercial hub and fighting and dying and hitting the station, and it was a huge event that I didn't take part in because I kind of understood what was happening. And then after the event, the Mitani then focused the argument, and the argument was against the Incarna expansion. It was against the moving away of the resources from developing the space game and the problems with the space and the balance issues and the bugs, and how the Space Legs development was a waste of time. And he was so successful in manipulating that narrative that the Space Legs expansion was completely abandoned and has never been picked up since. And they focused more on the gameplay that he wanted them to develop, which was all to do with space and the Empire system and all that kind of stuff. So I've seen anger at one thing being hijacked and used to shift the narrative before. I've seen it happen. In that case, it wasn't anger about Space Legs that was the problem. I remember that I was part of the community at the time. Everybody was angry about the shop, but he used that anger to shift the discussion in the direction that he wanted it to go. And that actually changed the development of the game. That's when I started to fall out of love with EVE Online, and I realized some features and things that I really wanted would now never see the light of day because somebody had manipulated the discussion with CCP. It was masterfully done. I can only respect it, but I don't want to see the petition smelled of that to me. I mean, it was putting so many different things together and saying, okay, this is what we should be doing. Let's stop doing what you guys are doing. Start focusing on fixing the bugs. But it wasn't just that. I mean, the main problem was actually how the release happened and the bugs that came with the release and the fact there was no beta. That was the main issue. That was the bug. It wasn't about any development. It wasn't about the communications. They've just put all of that in kind of a lot of general problems to make it more
fan the flames.
Well, it makes it more appealing. If you've got like 5,000 people saying this is a good argument, then especially when you've got all the, I mean, there was a lot of people who produce content for Elite Dangerous. That, I mean, many of them had different points, but getting them all together, it made it seem like a stronger argument. Whereas in fact, they were just putting all these different problems into the same box and saying, "Look at how important our box is."
And ironically, the content creators probably lost the most out of this recent update, or this delay, I should say.
Yeah, well, if there's no content, then it's difficult to highlight what you're doing or news and things. So
exactly.
Yeah, and it's all down to bloody Yamix.
No, I wouldn't say. I know that you personally don't like Yamix, but it's not Yamix. Yamix was part of it.
I don't like him either.
I have no problem with the guy. But
but yeah, anyways.
So I didn't know that history about EVE Online, and that kind of also draws more interesting parallels because there's no official communique of what the 2020 update is. I think a lot of people assume it's Space Legs.
It could be. It might not be.
It very well be, but there's been no official confirmation one way or another. But Space Legs in Elite Dangerous is still a very divisive issue. It definitely splits the community. So I'm curious, like, what do you think if, let's just say there was an official announcement and there was broader updates on what the roadmap looks like with the backdrop of this most recent petition, I think you have to say it was successful. Do you see something similar happening a la EVE Online?
I don't know, because we've got a different community. Even though, I mean, the petition worked to an extent. I think it worked. I mean, the timing for me is not a coincidence. Again, you might be right, though. It might be that they were already having problems and they've used the petition as an excuse to go, okay, we're focusing on this and we're delaying fleet carriers further so that we can get the best quality. But, I mean, honestly, whenever I've seen them do that, that's not what happens. I mean, that was what Beyond was supposed to be about. Beyond was supposed to be about focusing on the game and fixing issues with the game. That was the whole point of Beyond. We're not going to do any big updates. We're just going to focus on fixing the issues that are here. That did include some big systems like a reworking of mining and a reworking of exploration, with the two big ones. But
this year was also supposed to be that stuff as well, because they said, of course, the new player experience and all that.
Yeah, but it's there's still
got more bugs.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference though. Is like they were focusing on improving gameplay, which didn't mean bringing in any new overall systems, but it did mean improving current systems. So we got the new exploration, which replaced the old exploration. We got the new mining, which didn't replace the old mining, but did add to it. It gave new gameplay options in there. And we've got the new player experience. So it's focusing on the game, but this time they're talking about it in a different way, where it's only going to be about bug fixing. And that's kind of what I expected with this Beyond, and with this year focusing on the game. Is I thought they would be focusing on these things, bug fixes and game improvements. I didn't think it would just be game improvements and yet more bugs. So again, this is it's basically like the third year in a row where they've said, okay, we need to improve the game, so we're going to focus on that. And every time it's been in a different way. So like Beyond was about reworking existing features. This last year was about improving the new player experience, and this third year is going to be about fixing all the bugs that came in over the last 3 years. So it's in a different way, but I mean, they really need to get it together. We do need some new gameplay. We are supposed to be an MMO, and we need something new, something big. It's been a while since we had something big. I mean, even like the Thargoids, it was big, but not. And it's not like they'd introduced a new player race. They'd introduced a player enemy, but there was no. The gameplay that actually goes with it is iterations on current gameplay, just the new skin. It's not quite that simple, but that's the basics of it. Or am I being too harsh?
For the Thargoid stuff, it's hard to tell because that's its own kind of subset of the community. I think they had big ambitions for the Thargoids, and I don't know why they ended up having the Thargoids pull back, because that did take out a lot of quite engaging gameplay. And I think what it ends up coming down to is that even though AXI is a subset of the community, they were ruthlessly efficient. So the incursion states didn't really end up coming to, I think, as full fruition as they want, because AXI was really efficient in eliminating that threat.
Yeah, that kind of ties into what we've been saying the last couple of episodes about the stories, is that we do impact the game, and maybe they did have plans for the Thargoids, but we as in the player base, not we as in me, but we the player base have been so efficient in kind of hammering down some future plots that we never see those plots come to fruition because we're being so good at hammering them down, and they couldn't ignore the fact that we were kicking Thargoid ass, so they pulled them back. If we hadn't responded, then maybe things would have got worse, and they would have. They may have internal counters and things like if they hit a certain threshold, then this happens. If they don't hit that threshold, then this happens.
Right, and we'll never know because that is now the path not taken.
Yeah, and that's a criticism that I think is unfair, but also I understand it, which is that, because we don't know what was planned, we don't know what we stopped. It'd be nice sometimes if... I know Michael Brooks, before he left the game, he was talking about, like doing an article or something on the ways that the players have impacted the game and hadn't realized it. I mean, like the Emperor's Dawn was supposed to be a big thing, and the Throne War was supposed to go in a different way, and maybe Thargoids were supposed to happen.
I think that would be extremely helpful. Even something, when you want to go back to a little bit more recent history, the Aisling Duval wedding that never ended up coming this time last year. Like, where was that all going? Was it actually going anywhere? I mean, I think that's the kind of insights of development that would be just helpful for the community to assuage some people that there are these things that you are having an effect on, but because we're talking about a galactic level story, you can't see every individual twist and turn.
Yep. Yeah, it would be nice to sometimes have it spelled out to us what has happened, what we've done, how we've impacted the game, not just through CGs, but also just through general gameplay and things. Because a lot of people don't. We're at that strange point where individually as pilots, it's very hard for us to affect the galaxy. But when we move en masse, we do affect the story. We have affected the story, but we don't feel like we have because it wasn't Jeff Ryan, hero pilot, that saved the day. It was the pilots, the Federation of Pilots that saved the day. So maybe they could take it from that angle as the effect of the Federation of Pilots on galactic history. I mean, that there would even be a way to do it in character. Some budding journalist uncovers how the Federation of Pilots has managed to impact galactic history. We're not even considered to be a superpower, but we're the largest power in the universe right now.
The largest power of a bunch of nerds.
Yes, the power of the nerd.
Sorry, that just popped into my head right there.
Yeah, well, nerds have shaped the early 21st century, for better and for worse. So any predictions about the anti-blight treatment? Is this going to make things better? Is it going to make it worse? Is this the end of the Scourge?
Well, I hope so, because a lot of people are starving.
I was just wondering what we're going to get for a reward here, because they said people are going to get a reward for all these
Yeah, I know what reward you can get. Food. Fresh, healthy food without poison.
The blight doesn't affect cattle, like free range cattle. Just throwing that out there.
I maybe it would eventually affect their feed.
Eventually, but they just eat like grass or something.
Yeah, but they're in a food chain. I mean that might. I mean, grass is still a plant. It could get hit by the blight, and then your cattle would die. It's a food chain, man. So you're not all disconnected. If one thing goes, everything starts to go. Protect the bees.
But that's the thing.
Which bees on which planet?
But bees are delicious.
Taste nutty, I've been told.
What's the direction for this all? Because like the previous we got a reward of the form of the advanced multi-cannon, then the Thargoid bobblehead, but also the other things that we got was the mega ships ferrying players from our bubble to the Guardian bubble, and then also the Enclave. We got the Enclave. But what we're doing here, we're getting a new state of where the system is fucked and can't produce food and people are dying. That's what we're getting out of the CG.
Yes.
And you also get the system state that brings with it famine, which for everybody who's complaining about not being able to find distribution centers to farm wakes, that comes back as well.
Yeah.
Now I don't think I don't think that's the end goal of this. I think you're going to figure out what the reward is a little further down the line because this story is not done yet. And a lot of those rewards become apparent closer to the end of the initiative.
Well, how long have
Let's
I mean?
just wait.
I've not been here for a while, so how long do these events usually go on for? I thought we'd be nearing the end of it now.
Usually 4 phases, so one must still be coming.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, yeah, but I mean, for me, it's these things are not about the reward. I mean, the rewards are nice, but they're about the story, and I have enjoyed the story. I think my sense from the players is that it's been a bit underwhelming, this one. But still, they can't all be fantastic save the galaxy kind of things. And it's probably even more a save the galaxy. It's like a Star Trek episode, this one. I kind of appreciate it from that point of view. It's kind of like we've got this massive famine, the Starship Enterprise comes into orbit, has to data, figure it out. Kind of feels like that kind of storyline rather than like an action-packed storyline. So
I think this one's going to take a little longer because we're right now the Blight storyline is focused on a couple systems. I was just looking it up. Don't mind. There's still 70 systems still with Blight that have not been touched at all by this siege.
It could be. I mean, I doubt it, but it could be something like what we had before with Meta Alloys, which is just ongoing. And that went for years. The unknown artifacts and Meta Alloys.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful thing. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that it was something organic that happened in the game and it wasn't connected to CGs and things.
Maybe this is going to be the new form of UA bombing, as they're going to get. It's going to be experimental fertilizer bombing the places to become a blight.
This is a Ben's kind of street. This dropping fertilize.
No, that was specifically bio-waste. It can be used as fertilizer, but it can also be used to show friendship and respect between individuals who may or may not have imprisoned somebody who did nothing wrong.
Ben, I have no idea how you consider sharing bio-waste to be a sign of friendship. I don't want to hang out with the people that you hang out with.
This also explains why he doesn't have many friends now. He's hanging out with Monty.
You would just go ahead and mix that blight with food for all that so-called slavers around Kubio.
Don't give him any ideas.
I think Ben actually caused how we know why that livestock is funny.
I don't know. I did cause the Baltic tiger thing.
Yeah, he did cause the Baltic tigers.
Well, actually, no. That was just something by artificial food producers to try and make me look bad, but whatever.
Don't worry, you look bad.
Thank you. I try to look as bad as I can.
Well, you do a great job.
Right, the other thing I kind of want to touch on a little bit tonight, and I hope this is actually something I hope to roll out soon. Like in one of the first, I think it was the first unrecorded, maybe the second unrecorded episode that we did of this show. I rolled out some ideas that I saw for the future. One of the things was a regular broadcast, which this has turned out to be. And the other one was the Outriders. This isn't really news. That's why I didn't Techie do this. But we were talking about it during the week, and Mistler suggested that we do something like this through all the branches. My idea originally was what I called the Outriders, which is a name that Techie didn't like. Care. Was like a badge to give to people who take part in events for our branch, so that you don't want to join the branch of site, but you've done branch of site things, and this is like a way of saying you're an ally of the branch of site. You don't work for us, but we know that you're interested in the type of things that we do. So that was what I called the Outriders program. Mistler, which is still something that I've had in my head. I don't know why it hasn't rolled out. It's probably because I'm just a vice headmaster now. But Mistler also suggested that it's actually generally a good idea for all the branches, so that we can have like what was it we said? Like the Mind Influencer, the Ruby Rangers, and the Emerald Outriders, which are so you can take part in things for other branches. you're not just confined. I think it's something to be attractive also to like the commission commanders and senators who don't want to join the branch, but they get recognition for doing branch stuff. So, like if they help out Vigor with a BGS thing, then they get the Ruby Ranger. So it's a way of recognizing that they've taken part in things, and also if we know that people have taken part, they might be interested in helping in future endeavors, or may even join the branch later on. But it's a way of recognizing that there is also, for me, a good thing about it is that even if you are a member of a branch, you should still help out the other branches. A great example this week was we had Vigor basically join the expedition, which was fun. So.
Combat squad, just in case.
Usually, whenever I do go exploring, which I love to do, but usually because I want to ping around the BGS, I don't. I actually take all my exploration data and give it to Vigor's databases.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. And that's something that sites should be doing anyway.
That's right, they should.
We do.
Sometimes that's the problem, is there's just so much data from site that we don't know what to do with it all. I know when I come back, I am going to be scared. I almost said something else. I am going to be scared of like moving from system to system with like billions in data. It's like always whenever I get back from a big thing, I always kind of like unloaded everything in Kubio, just sold it all. Whereas,
Well,
just dump it all in Samo.
it's just 2 billion's worth in Samo. I think it might
Just
be
buy the system.
God, if you only have, yes, please buy the system.
Dump it all in Samo and get like the influence there up to 95%.
Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, that's one of the things that's one of the things we want to do. We want to encourage inter-branch and commission commanders and centers. It's not even that. It's also a way for recognizing people that do these things anyway. It's like, you know,
So it's
you're not
gonna be
just.
So it's going to be like our current medal system for some of the events.
Kinda,
Yes and no.
but no. But it's like for recognizing that you participate in activities for a branch, even if you're not if you're not part of that branch, but you still took part in the expedition, or you still helped do something for Vigor, or it's a way to say thank you, and also to recognize that you have done stuff for branches. So you're not just a commission commander or a senator. You've also helped out the branches, even though you're not part of it. And it's, if you're in site and you do BGS for Vigor, or if you're in Vigor and you took part in an expedition, I mean, it's a way to show that we're all one big happy family. So I thought it was a good idea of Missler's to expand my idea. My idea was basically because a lot of people do enjoy doing some of the things the site do, but they don't want to commit to being a member of just the science division. They want to, stay.
What a shame.
But yeah, so that's why the idea originally came to me for site, but it is a good idea for cross branch. I mean, another thing is like if you're somebody who could benefit from that would be the Lord Herald, because I'm sure that we do have some nice writers and things who would like to write the occasional story for the website or help with propaganda. So we could do, it's a way to recognize that people have helped out the different branches and things. Yeah.
If Kevin's up to making art for it, I can also imagine that being showed in the achievements tab on your profile on the website.
Yes. I'd like it to be a badge on Discord. I know Kevin does not like. I used to create badges for everything and used to drive Kevin crazy, but I think that they're nice. I think it's nice to click on your profile in the Discord and see the badges and things, and they're all part of the story that you've been on in the game. So, right, this has been the Prismatic Congress. I've been your host, Jeff Ryan, and I'll see you again next week.